Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Morning, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate you and all of you for joining us every day, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Got a big show today. We've got a big show next week that we'll be talking about here in a few minutes. Lots of things popping. We're getting into full baseball season, games starting today, all that kind of good stuff. Yes, let's rock and roll. You can follow me on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all the normal places at the Ray Flowers. You can find me over at FantasyGuru.com, answering football and baseball questions all day long. Well, not all day long, but I'm there all day long. You get the point. I'm there all the time. I'm here with you Monday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Justin Fensterman is hosting here. So the show goes Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm here with you 3 days. Justin 2. The 2 days I'm not here, I'm with Jeff Mans over on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Talked about this yesterday. This week is different. Next week is different. Jeff is going on a vacation. So what's going to happen is that I will be hosting the Guru Elite Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There'll be no show Thursday and Friday because of Combine stuff. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be over there hosting the show, meaning that Justin Fensterman will be picking up extra duty here. He'll be with you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here. I'll return Thursday and Friday next week. Next week, I've also got my labor draft on Monday. I've got my Tout Wars draft on Tuesday. I think we're doing a SiriusXM mock draft that I'll be hosting over there on Thursday. Lots of things going on. We also got some announcements to make. So let's throw up on the screen what we're doing here today. We'll kind of dive into everything, put it all together. Bottom line is that the upcoming schedule for next week is going to get pretty dicey in addition to all the shows, in addition to the drafts. We got a bunch of stuff. I did hear from our provider, by the way. I think we're going to be able to announce Monday next week. Yes. So stay tuned for that big announcement we've been hinting at. Very, very, very close to helping you have a new avenue to play fantasy baseball in a way that you've never played it before, and hopefully a way that you will enjoy. Now, we'll talk about what's happening over at the website right now, what's happening next week at the website here in a second. We'll also go through the news of the day. Jordan Westburg got an update. It's not terrible. It's not great. We'll talk about that. What's going on with Edwin Uceta, Shane Bieber, Jared Jones, Gerrit Cole, Reynaldo Lopez, Shota, Imanaga, Jose Berrios, Andrew Painter, Kodai Senga, Marcelo, Mayo. We'll talk about all those guys here over the next few minutes. In about 25 minutes, since it's a Friday, we'll be visited by Russell Clay. Russell Clay will join us. We'll talk Baltimore Ravens football. We started doing this week. We'll continue to do this for the next couple of weeks, going team by team, kind of breaking down everything that happened in 2025. What's 2026 look like? Coaching changes, cap money available, free agency, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk Ravens football in a few minutes here with Russ J. Clay, otherwise known as Russell Clay, otherwise known as Russell J. Clay. He goes by many a moniker, but you know him as the guy that helps you on Fridays. Okay, so this week is ADP week over at FantasyGuru.com. If you've been paying attention, we're rolling articles out. We rolled a couple articles out today. Today was ADP bargains for pitchers and too costly, according to ADP, on the infield. So we've got a whole host of these articles that are dropping over at FantasyGuru.com. Basically, infield, outfield pitching. Guys that are they're too expensive, and guys that are costing too much. So that's basically been what we've done this week, a series of 6 articles coming out with those 3 infielders, outfielders, pitchers, right? Both guys to target and guys to worry about because of cost. Next week, again, is a big week. We'll have a bunch of drafts. They'll be on SiriusXM. I'll be doing drafts myself. The plan is for me later next week to post my labor and Tout Wars reviews. I'll write up the drafts. So for those of you that weren't able to hear it, weren't able to see it, want some more of my personal thoughts on how the drafts went, that should be available next weekend. Also next weekend, I'll have an article, does punting work? Someone asked me a question about punting the other day, and it's like, I haven't written an article about punting in years. Punting is obviously where you take a category, let's say steals or saves, and you just don't pay attention to it on draft day. You don't pay attention to it in season. You just let it go while you think to yourself, I'm not going to worry about getting saves. I'm just going to get all the big starters, right? We'll talk about that next Sunday is the article, does punting work? Something to look forward to. Also next week on Friday, I hate it. We'll talk more about it next week. Probably talk about it on Friday. The draft book is scheduled to drop on Friday next week. That should be updated every Friday moving forward, starting next week. The draft book is basically a one-stop shop. It's very simple. People like it for that reason. I don't like it for the reasons I write about every year. That'll be in the article for the reasons that we'll probably bring up here on the show. But the bottom line is the draft book is a one. It's like 3 sheets. It's an Excel sheet, all in order. You go round by round. It has the player names, who to target. It's got the cost if you're doing an auction. It's all in one nice little tidy sheet that people like, even though I think there's a lot of problems with it. The bottom line is that'll drop on Friday. Next Thursday is the breakout pitcher of the year for 2026. And I've really started to dig into that the last couple of days. I'll spend the entire weekend going through everything else here. It's kind of the signature piece of mine over at fantasyguru.com. Recent hits for this are Nick Lodolo, Brian Wu, Justin Steele. We basically try to find a pitcher that's outside of the top. I think it's 175 ADP now because, again, as we've discussed, analysis has gotten so much better. Even the Justin Steele, though, I think Justin Steele was ADP was 309, if I remember right. He was in the 300s. So sometimes there's a guy that's really late. Maybe there'll be a guy this year that's really late according to ADP. But bottom line is we try to take someone who's outside the top 175 in pitching. Sometimes way below 175, sometimes 275, 375. You get the point. Who's going to drastically outproduce their cost? Think Nick Lodolo last year, right? So that is what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to target. There'll be 17 names, a couple of honorable mention guys I'm going to have. There'll be 15 names in the article. We'll whittle the 15 down to 5, and then we'll get the answer. Who will be the breakout pitcher there? That's next Thursday. The first 3 days of the week will be something I started doing last year. I probably should have been doing this for a long time, and I've done it without actually specifically doing it. I've obviously been doing this for years, but telling people how to draft, helping people how to draft. It's the idea of what's the perfect draft. And the answer is there's no perfect draft, right? Sometimes you could take a pitcher in the first round, it can work. You could wait till the 5th round to take your first pitcher. You could take your first pitcher in the 10th round, it could work. It all depends who stays healthy, your waiver wire moves, the trade market, who's performs up to par, who surpasses expectations, who fail. So there's no perfect way to do this. But Jeff Manns does the Manzafesto. This is kind of my version of that. There will be 3 articles Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they will basically revolve around the following idea. When do you draft pitching? Do you draft pitching early? Do you draft pitching in the middle? Or do you draft pitching late? So those are the 3 options. How does the team build actually play out? So I'll look at ADP and I'll put a team together. We'll go 12-team league, 23-man roster spots for the starters, the traditional setup, and we'll build a team, taking pitching early, taking pitching in the middle rounds, taking pitchers late, and we'll see how it turns out. And you can be the judge of how that rough plan works. Because, again, I'm putting these teams together based upon ADP. Drafts don't go according to ADP, or at least they shouldn't. But you know how this goes. It's the easy baseline I can utilize to have this discussion with everybody. So that's what's happening next week. In addition to the possible announcement, I think it's going to happen next week, and my doing the 3 shows over on Sirius XM. The 3 shows on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. By the way, Justin Pitchman will be on all 3 days talking NBA. We'll be going through the DFS game with him those 3 days because I know Jeff Manns has been hitting on basketball every day on the show. I'm not a basketball guy, so we'll bring Justin in to keep that conversation going. And then we'll have Armando Marsal, Tyler Beaker, Russell Clay, all 3 of them, each on one day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They'll each stop in and talk some football with us. They're mostly focusing on free agency over on the show. Okay, let's dig into some baseball talk before we talk to Russell Clay here in about 20 minutes. Jordan Westburg, we talked about this yesterday. He hurt his oblique. Somehow he hurt his elbow. There's an uncertainty. What's he going to do? What's the real injury? He's seeing doctors with the Orioles. He's seen doctors outside of Oriole camp. Well, we got information. Here's what we've heard recently. He's had imaging done on his elbow. The good news is that he doesn't need surgery right now. The bad news is we're not certain exactly when he's going to come back. He does have a partially torn UCL in his elbow. UCL is the ligament you tear. You go to primary repair or you go for Tommy John surgery. So this is a legitimate concern here. Right now, the expectation is that they're going to do the PRP injections, which some doctors, they take your blood out, they spin it around, they put the good stuff back in. Some doctors really believe in this. Some kind of think it's pseudoscience. I don't think they've ever actually, it's unclear how much it helps. but it certainly is something to try short of surgery. Once you have the surgery, it's 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 months, all that kind of stuff. So he's having a PRP injection to hopefully speed up the recovery in the elbow. Does have a torn UCL. He's going to miss April. That's what we're hearing now. He's been drastically lowered in the rankings over at fantasyguru.com. And as more information comes out, he might even get dropped further. We talked about this yesterday on the show. And I said, look, if I was doing a draft this week, I'm not drafting Jordan Westburg. If you want to spend your 295th pick on him, yeah, okay. I'm not against that. But the idea of, we're going to reach for this guy. We're going to expect this guy to be somebody that gets 500 plus plate appearances this year. I just don't know. So be sure if you're drafting this weekend in particular that you are very cautious with Jordan Westburg because he does have a UCL tear. Guys can play through the UCL tear. It's obviously slightly, still concerning, but slightly less concerning for a field position player versus a pitcher. But at the same time, a pitcher's on a mound doing that same movement. A fielder's throwing down here. He's throwing up here. He's throwing. I just realized I didn't put my head bigger. Not that anyone really cares. But, it's arm angles all over the place, so we will see what happens here with Jordan Westburg, but concerning. Now, who takes over? Well, remember, Jackson Holliday's also out too. Jeremiah Jackson's in the lineup today. I saw that news report. Who takes over at third base? Well, it's got to be Coby Mayo, right? I mean, that's the prevailing thought. Mayo is playing third base today for the Orioles. Mayo is somebody that, we've talked about here on the show. We talked about on SiriusXM too. Just a guy, you're like, there's just no spot here. Well, now there's a spot. How long is Westbrook going to be out? We don't know. It could be a month. It could be all season. We don't have any idea right now. Coby Mayo, we do know is going to get an opportunity to play. Now, what does that opportunity look like? I don't know. It's a great question. Who is Mayo? Mayo has one of the best power bats in all of baseball, period. That's the truth. He also has struggled a little bit at the big league level. He struggled to find any kind of consistency at the big league level. He has not lived up to expectations. Can he? Sure. It's not like he's 110 years old. How old is Coby Mayo? 24? Pull him up real quick as we're talking. He's 24. So certainly this is something that could develop. He has the ability to be a 30 home run hitter. He has the ability to be a Max Muncy type of offensive player. Whether he is that guy this season or not, we shall see. He had a 29% strikeout rate last year. He did finish on a high note, which is really nice. And again, small sample sizes, we can do this and we can confuse ourselves and make ourselves feel better about things. But he did finish on a high note in the month of September. 5 home runs, hit 300, which is intriguing because, again, he's one of the better power hitting prospects in baseball who's kind of stalled out. He's going to get an opportunity to play. We'll see what that means here as we move forward, and we'll continue to follow that news with Jordan Westbrook very closely because obviously he is more of an impactful fantasy player than Coby Mayo, though Coby Mayo could have his uses, of course. Alex Cora, the manager of the Red Sox, said that Marcelo Mayer maybe not be in the starting lineup this year. Everyone kind of thinks he still will be. Maybe this is a little bit of, hey, prove yourself. Maybe this is a little bit, we didn't see everything we needed to see out of the rookie last year. Maybe this is the team, liking the organization and the depth they have and all that. But it really does seem like Marcelo Mayer is going to start at second base with Caleb Durbin apparently playing third base. There was that debate when Durbin was added, what position he's going to play. It seems like Durbin's going to play third, and it seems like Mayer is going to play second base. Now, again, the Red Sox have a lot of options. We know that. They're still trying to figure out what to do with Christian Campbell. Sounds like they're putting him in the outfield, but the Christian Campbell's floating around there a little bit. They're trying to make decisions on how they want to fill their bench out. They've got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who can obviously play up the middle. They've got Romy Gonzalez, who can play up the middle, second base in particular. So they definitely have options here. So continue to watch this. Mayer probably hits 8th or 9th, if he makes the lineup anyway. So, while there's a lot to like about Mayer and his talent and outlook, future, all that, short term, little tight there for at least upper end performance. Let's talk about some pitchers. That's what the majority of the news was over the last 24 hours here, for good or bad. Shane Bieber is going to start the season on the injured list. He's got the right forearm fatigue. That's what they're calling it. He's throwing 120 feet. And they expect him to be back on the mound in about 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks. So first week of March, back on the mound. He's one of these guys that can come back at those 75 pitches and give you 5 innings, right? So he doesn't need to work it up to 100. He could pitch in April. Maybe May 1st is a good target date. I don't really know. We've discussed him a lot. The fact that, he didn't go into the open market. He took the player sale. He had a $16 million player option that he took, which was really surprising because he returned last year from Tommy John surgery, looked good down the stretch, pitched in the playoffs. Why would he keep a 1 year, $16 million deal? Go to the market, at least get 3 years, $50 million or something, right? So there is a lot of concern here. Now, he's been a very difficult player to put a price tag on in terms of the rankings over at fantasyguru.com, which are continually updated. They were updated this morning. And like Westburg, Bieber, if he slides, okay. Am I pushing him up draft boards? Do I have to take him? Is my plan saying I got to walk away? No, none of this. Bieber, if he falls to me, maybe. But I'm not aggressively seeking Bieber with the news with his arm right now. Edwin Uceta. Remember, we've discussed on this show my preference for Griffin Jax. There is a debate. Who's going to be the lead guy in the bullpen for the Rays? Is it going to be Jax? Is it going to be Uceta? A lot of people siding with Uceta. I've said Jax all along. Uceta's got a shoulder issue. He had an MRI done. Apparently his shoulder felt cranky and not good. He threw and it just didn't. So they sent him to get the MRI. There was another report this morning. What was the actual language? He's heading for a follow-up exam today. So he had the MRI yesterday. He's going to have a follow-up exam. Uceta might be fine. He might get shut down for 2 weeks. He might need surgery. We have no idea here. Now, hopefully we'll hear today, if not tomorrow. Another scenario, if you're drafting this weekend, Uceta is not somebody that you should be drafting at this point. We need information to clarify what's going on with him. Griffin Jax should be someone that you should be targeting. I think that's absolutely fair because of the fact that, let me grab something here as I make a note to myself. We should be, Jax is someone that we definitely should be drafting because he's got a legitimate chance to emerge as the closer anyway. And the health uncertainty with Uceta certainly could open up things in a substantial way for Mr. Griffin Jax. Next up, starting pitching, Gerrit Jones. Gerrit Jones, disappointingly, was already placed on the 60-day injured list, so he'll be out through May. Fully expect at this point in time for him to be right there at the start of June. That's the expectation. He's coming back from elbow surgery. He had the primary internal brace surgery, The internal brace procedure was done in last May. The recovery from that is usually 9 to 12 months. It's quicker than Tommy John surgery. So that would put him, if he's back like the first week of June, right at the edge of the normal return date. So nothing concerning here. We haven't heard anything about setbacks. He was throwing early in camp. It was kind of surprising. He was throwing one day and the next day they put him on the 60-day injured list. It's like, oh, well, he was throwing yesterday. They just wanted to give him some more time to make sure he's good to go. So the 24-year-old righty who has been dominant at times in his brief major league career is going to start the season on the injured list. Looking good. Continue to follow the reports and updates. But he is somebody that, if you have IL spots, cool. If you don't have IL spots, you have to make that call. And my call would be no. Because again, we're talking. This is not Gerrit Jones going to miss a week or two, maybe 3. This is he's out 2 months. We know that. So there's no coming back. Once you place on the 60-day injured list, there's no coming back sooner. So you have to know with Jones that he's out for weeks once the season begins. So if you don't have an injured list, but it's like you're in the NFBC or something, I can't. You can't just take a 0 for 7-8 weeks. You can't do it. At least I couldn't do it. Maybe some of you can. I don't know. Maybe you want to draft that way. It's not the way I would recommend. So be very cautious if that is indeed your setup. If you've got the IL spots and you want to draft him and replace him as soon as waivers run that first time, there's something to recommend that. Gerrit Cole, we've talked about here as well, as over on SiriusXM. He's doing pretty well here. Gerrit Cole, obviously, one of the best right-handed pitchers, one of the best pitchers in baseball the last decade. He's got an argument to make the Hall of Fame. We'll see. I don't know if it's a good argument, but he's got an argument. He's been one of the better pitchers in baseball, of course, through this era. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery of his own. He continues to kind of hit every benchmark, and he's supposed to face batters today for the first time since the surgery, which is really good news. So there is a growing hope that Gerrit Cole, will make it back before Gerrit Jones, that he'll be back at some point in May. Again, we know how these things go. Cole is extremely important to the Yankees. He's getting paid a ton of money. If he has any kind of twinge or tweak or anything, they're going to pull him back. They're going to be very cautious with him. So while All of this is really good news. He's 35, coming back off Tommy John surgery. That's not easy. But he's hit all the benchmarks to date. A late May return seems to be in play here. Obviously, Carlos Rodon is hoping to be back in April from his injury. So they've got two of their big guys on the injury list to start the season. That'll be the case, but maybe both of them are returning a little bit earlier than we anticipated. Rodon in April and Gerrit Cole potentially by the end of May. Good news there for the Yankees. We talked about Reynaldo Lopez and the situation with the Braves pitching staff earlier. I think it was this week, right? Maybe it was late last week, one of the two. It must have been late last week. And I said, look, Reynaldo Lopez was out there throwing a lot of breaking balls, and dude was throwing 91 miles an hour. His normal fastball is 96. Right? How healthy is he right now? Well, he hit 94 on the gun yesterday while he was throwing, and he was sitting at 93. So he's still 3 miles an hour down, 3 miles an hour down from where he was prior to his injury. But it's 2 miles an hour better than it was. So this is encouraging, right? You don't always have to go out and throw 100 miles an hour or 100%, I should say. We've talked about this a lot too. I don't know off air how much on air the discussion has made it, but back in the old days when I was a kid, Scott Gerrit shows up to camp. Scott Gerrit throws 96 miles an hour, right? He's one of the hardest throwers in the National League at the time. He shows up and he's throwing 93. Does anyone even know? Does anyone have a gun on him? Maybe, maybe not. If the gun is on him, does it even get into the newspaper? Probably not. If he's throwing 93, they basically just say, oh, the weather, or, it's early in camp. There's like no concern with that. Nowadays, though, with all the technology we have and all the analysis we're able to do, especially with pitchers, when a guy throws 96 and he comes in throwing 91, it's panic time. Cats and dogs living together, right? It's craziness. Interesting, right? We'll see how this plays out with Lopez, but he is in the rotation for the Braves if he's healthy. So whether he's throwing 93 or 94 or 96, as long as he's healthy, he's in the rotation. Obviously, guys that throw 96, throwing 93, 3 miles an hour difference doesn't sound like much, but it's significant, right? From a batter perspective, it's significant. Almost certainly, then we're talking about what's the spin rate on this pitch or that pitch? Where's his release point? Does that change? How's his extension? Like, there's all these things we can analyze. Is he still injured? Is he babying himself? Does he need to work on his mechanics? Are these the new there's all these things we'll dive into with a guy like Lopez once we start to get some official data. But again, remember that, 25 years ago, if someone showed up to camp throwing slower, no one would have cared. No one would have known. More likely, no one would have known. The beat writers would have been like, it looked like he was down a mile or two today. Who cares? That would not, I don't remember as a kid, maybe I'm glossing over it. I don't ever remember picking the Chronicle up and reading reports saying Scott Gerrit was, 3 miles an hour slow on his fastball today in camp. Rick Russell, it never happened. Like, it wasn't information that was relayed. So keep that in mind. We try not to overreact. It's difficult sometimes, right? We try not to overreact. Lopez has got a lot of time here. We still got a month, before the season starts plus. He's trending in the right direction. Good to see improvement last time out after that first time out was kind of scary. Shota Imanaga. He has been throwing harder this spring, according to Craig Counsell, his manager. That was reported by Bruce Levine. Counsell didn't say he's up 1.7 miles an hour or 2.1 miles an hour. He didn't give a number, but he said he's throwing harder. Okay, I'm not Craig Counsell. There's no gain benefit advantage to lying. Hold on a second. I'm absolutely taking him at his word. I'm just saying that he didn't give a number here. Imanaga was very interesting because he, kind of like Bieber, he was offered the qualifying offer by the Cubs, which is a 1-year, $22 million deal. And my thought when they offered this was, okay, they're offering it to him knowing he's not going to accept it, and he's going to go out on the market and get a big deal, and the Cubs will get a draft pick. He took the offer, which is surprising because Imanaga, $22 million for 1 year is great pay, but I'm stunned, as I assume a lot of you. Why didn't he get 5 years, $110 million? I don't. So I was worried, as many others were too. Is there an injury here with Imanaga? So it's really good to hear that the velocity is up. There is some belief in Cub land that one of the reasons that the velocity did dip a little bit for Imanaga last year was because of a hamstring injury he had, so it kind of threw his mechanics off. And that's also something we talk about all the time, which is another reason why when you take pitching early, you're taking a risk. An ankle injury, a hamstring tweak, these kind of things, you take a day or two off as a player. You don't run as hard. You don't push yourself as hard. You stay in the lineup. Okay. As a pitcher, anything in the chain that gets off, anything, your finger, your wrist, your elbow, your bicep, your tricep, your shoulder, your hip, your hamstring, your ankle, your knee, anything that goes off changes everything. Everything. And we know now, because we do have the ability to analyze with all these high motion, high speed cameras and everything, we'll know exactly, well, his release point is down 3 degrees, or his hip is 1 inch to the left. I mean, we know these things, right? So while it sounds kind of dumb to think that, his hamstring injury caused him to lose velocity, I can buy it analytically. And I mean, I can buy it just because, but analytically, I'm sure we can prove it too. So good news with Imanaga. He's thrown a little bit harder. Imanaga obviously is somebody that we've talked a lot about over at Fantasy Guru the last couple of years. The big issue with him is the home run. It's going to continue to be the home run because of all the fly balls. But he'll be looking to rebound after a little bit of a down season last year. It wasn't a bad season, just a little bit of a down season. Jose Berrios, according to Keegan Matheson of MLB.com, is fully healthy to start the spring. And John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, said, here's a quote, "His stuff is back to where it was probably 2 years ago in terms of velocity and his breaking ball," unquote. Not buying it. And I am a Jose Berrios guy. I've always been a Jose Berrios guy. I love saying his name because of the R's. For those of you that have been with me for years, followed me my work in years, you know this. He's been on all my teams. I've told you all to draft him on all your teams. He had a hiccup in 2022 with the ERA, rebounded the last couple of seasons, and then last year wasn't very good. And he is now, 33? He's 30. He'll be 32 in a month and a half, 2 months. He'll be 32. But if you look at his numbers here, we're talking about, he's never a big strikeout guy. That's, he got strikeouts, but he wasn't a big strikeout guy. 3 of the last 4 years, his strikeout rate has been under 20%. That's bad. The league average about 22. His career number is 22.4, which I think is a direct match for what the league average was last year. 3 of the last 4 years has been under 20%. That's not good. He also last year had an 8% walk rate, which is slightly below the league average, so it's not a terrible number. But it's a 5-year high, and the first time in 5 years, the number's been over 7. So we have a pitcher who striking out less guys than ever before, a guy who's walking more guys than he's had in a long time. His strikeout to walk ratio, 4.5, 3.3, 3.5, 2.8, and then 2.5 last year. Very average number. The home runs have started to become more of a concern. 3 of the last 4 years, the home run per 9 mark is 1.4 or higher. The bottom line is Berrios appears to be, at this point in time, way more of an innings eater than an actual mover of the markets here, as they say, in the fantasy space. I don't even know if he's worth drafting per se. He's more of a streamer, in my opinion, at this point. Without the strikeout upside and with the concerning walk and home run rates, just be cautious with Jose Berrios. Still like the guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did find the fountain of youth. He's only going to be 32. So very athletic guy. Didn't pitch as a youngster. That's a big storyline with him too. He picked up pitching later in life, so doesn't have all the innings that some of the other guys do too, because he wasn't pitching when he was 12 years old. But we'll see with Jose Berrios. Reporting is positive. Follow it this spring. See what the results are, but I am dubious at this point in time. Andrew Painter. Remember, we've got a whole section of rookies over at fantasyguru.com. Oh, and in fact, today we have a article written by Scott Bonder talking about youngsters, including this next guy, Andrew Painter. Youngsters and how to evaluate them in the best ball market. So that article went up this morning as well. We do have best ball rankings, as well as that article today about youngsters in the best ball game from Scott Bonder. Andrew Painter, who was widely regarded as probably the number one, 2 pitching prospect in baseball for right-handers a couple years ago, got hurt, had Tommy John surgery, returned last season, wasn't sharp. Stuff was down a little bit, location was off. He just wasn't sharp. Happens a lot of times with players coming back from Tommy John surgery, nothing outstanding there. According to JT Realmuto, the catcher of the Phillies, Painter was 98, even hit 99 on the gun in a bullpen the other day. Great to see. Painter should be fully returned from Tommy John surgery. He should be fully healthy. Had another offseason to go here. Obviously the Phillies' big storyline there in the pitching staff is Zach Wheeler and his health coming back from having the rib removed. But Painter could be the 5th starter for this team. And if he is the 5th starter for this team, remember, Andrew Painter in the not so recent past was one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. So don't forget about him on draft day. What's his ADP? Let's look it up real quick. Andrew Painter, ADP is 430. So he's not even being drafted. I mean, you're in a 12-team league, 30 roster spots, it's 360. So Andrew Painter's not being drafted. Might be worth a last round dart throw for those of you in deeper leagues. And then finally, Kodai Senga, another guy with some velocity. Last year, velocity on his four-seamer was 96 miles, 95.7. 95.7 as a rookie, excuse me. Then it was 94.7 last year. Remember when he's a rookie, he's in his 30s. First year was 95.7 on his fastball. Last year was 94.7. He hit 97 in batting practice yesterday. So this is really good news. Obviously, the most important piece for Imanaga, for Senga, unlike Imanaga, who's been healthy. Senga's just got to stay healthy. I mean, he's got to be on the field. So his performance when on the field is solid to good. The question for Senga is he making 12 starts, 22 starts, 32 starts? If I had to guess one, it'd be 22. I think that's the number of starts he made last year. He's fully expected to be in the Mets rotation this year. He is somebody that could obviously outpace draft day cost. His ADP is 329, which is hundreds of spots below where it was a couple years ago. He's got to stay healthy, but these are good early reports. We'll continue to track the information when it comes to game action with him and everybody else on this show and over at fantasyguru.com. All right. So on Fridays, we talk to our man, Russell Clay. And normally with Russ, who's our dynasty guy over at fantasyguru.com, we dive in to the rookies. We talk all about that. We've done that with him. We've talked all the positions, went through all that kind of stuff. Had a lot of fun with him doing that. Let's talk a little bit of Ravens today with him. And as I say that, Russ, as I say that, as we bring you on, Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com, we didn't do tight ends. Did we do tight ends? We didn't do tight ends because of my computer snafu. Is that correct?
Yeah. Who cares about, other than Brock Bowers, I don't really care about tight end anyway. Okay. Aronde Gadsden's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
And Colson Loveland is good. So there you go.
There you go. There's a quick review of rookies at the tight end position. How you doing today, Russ?
I'm good. Good to see you, Ray. How are you? I mean, you're a new man, new computer, locked in.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. It went kaplooey. It finally got fixed. I had to have the guy come out 3 times, but it was covered for cost, and the guy came to the house. And so thank you, Lenovo, the whole thing. So yeah, new man. I got my second screen back. The last week since the computer got fixed, I was working with one screen, which is impossible. I don't know. For those of you that used one screen, I don't know how you do it. So yes, we're back, ready to go. Rocking and rolling. Things are good in your world there?
Things are good. I mean, it's a quiet dynasty season. I had to scrape tooth and nail to find some updates in the rankings this week. I think we got a few at each position, but it's going to ramp up huge in the next couple weeks, but we're really waiting for free agency here, right?
Yeah, before we talked Ravens with you, a name I've seen mentioned multiple times in Dynasty, just want to get your quick take on him. Jonathan Brooks. People are counting on him-ish, and it's like, dude's blown his knee out twice. Like, I don't know. Maybe he may never play another NFL down. Like, we don't know. We all wish him well, but we can't think back 3 years ago, Jonathan Brooks, and think we're getting that guy this year. So, people trying to trade for him, people trying to trade him away. What's your basic advice to Jonathan Brooks right now?
It's fun if it's cheap and there's no risk, right? We already took our risk and we lost in rookie drafts. If we drafted Jonathan Brooks, who I liked, we're already sunk cost. If you're getting him now, I mean, go ahead, right? What is he, round 12 of a startup? I don't know if we'll get to this today, Ray, but I think the big question for me as I go into this offseason is we got McCaffrey, Henry, and Saquon. And I look at these and I say, going win now in Dynasty seems pretty easy right now. They're all going to be super cheap. So I know we're not talking that today, but I'd love your take on that because feels like a ripe time to be a win now Dynasty player.
Yeah. And, there will be people, I think it was Bill Walsh that used to say, get out a year early, right? Like get out. Let's let someone else deal with the downside. And even if you get McCaffrey and it's not, it's 307 touches this year coming up, or it's Derrick Henry and it's 11 rushing touchdowns, like you're saying, this is still running back one kind of stuff. So yeah, I think a lot of people, my experience, and you're even more experienced, I think, in Dynasty than I am. My experience with Dynasty is that, everyone thinks their team's going to be great in 2028. Like that's just how people play the game. And I'm playing now. Like I don't know if I'll be even alive in 2028. Like I'm trying to win now, but a lot of people
right.
Someone was asked a question this morning over at FG in the Discord. They wanted to trade Trevion Henderson, who was pretty good as a rookie, who, I don't think he disappointed. I was disappointed us to fantasy the way he was utilized. But again, he 1,200 yards from scrimmage and touchdown. He's going to trade him for the 101. And I'm like, okay, you're going to do it and get love. Cool. But at some point, you got to pick a guy and stick. Like,
right.
You just got Henderson and he was a win. And now we're already talking 12 months later, or less than 12 months later, flipping him to get a pick to get love.
Yeah, it's chaos. And I just, I want, as doing rankings, you want to move the vets down. And then I looked at it. I'm like, I can't. What if McCaffrey? So 2 more years of McCaffrey with like 1,700 yards is like worth more than what 90% of these guys. So yeah, I don't know.
Tough balance, folks. But we're there to answer questions year round over at fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner if you're not signed up now. If you are signed up, hit us up in Discord. Again, I was answering Dynasty questions this morning before the show, and Russ is in there every day. Sometimes you even get audiograms from Russ, right? Like I never do that because I'm not fancy enough, but he's fancy enough to give me an audiogram. So I just type out some stupid things and he'll actually tell you something witty. So that's kind of his move.
Or yell at you. Yeah. Or yell at you. Yeah.
Russ Clay joins us every Friday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time here on the show. Let's talk Ravens football today. You mentioned Derrick Henry. We'll talk about him in a second. I think to start off with this team, they got a new head coach in Jesse Minter. They got a new OC in Declan Doyle. Like this is a really different organization than it was a month ago, right? Completely changed. They're middle of the pack when it comes to salary cap space, but they've got this massive cap hit coming up for Lamar Jackson. So they're talking about restructuring, extending, all these kind of things. What's your kind of take, generally speaking, on the loss of Harbaugh, the addition of Minter and Doyle? Good, bad, indifferent? We got to see how the draft plays out. We got to see how free agency goes. What are your thoughts?
I really like Minter and I really like this roster. I think we all do, right? When we look at it, the paper version, I'm not going to call them paper champions, but this roster has been awesome for years now. I mean, the defense is ready to win, even though they weren't that great right now. Minter, of course, defensive-minded head coach. Excited to see how he uses Kyle Hamilton. Lamar and Derrick Henry, even if Henry, as we mentioned, is a little older and not quite Derrick Henry anymore. They have a nice running back core there. I like their receivers, their tight ends. We'll see what happens with Likely, but I don't know. And Vegas every year has them as top 3 and they're going to do it again. And if we have the stability, there was this weird kind of voodoo with this roster, Ray, over the last 3 years where, I just mentioned they were all Super Bowl contenders, but the big games is what gets them. The roster and the week to week and, those 8 games a year where they're playing below 500 teams, like they crush that every year. So this is going to be a good team. Lamar's still really good. I like them.
Lamar Jackson, by the way, I think his cap number is like $74 million or something this year, which is obviously untenable. They'll have to do something there. We saw that just recently happen with Patrick Mahomes. There's ways to move the money around and all that. There's talk about an extension with Lamar, all this kind of stuff. Lamar's to 29, and a consistent talking point from fans and people analyzing this team is, as Lamar goes, the team goes. Duh, right? He has bumps and bruises and knocks him out of the lineup here and there. He's got a lot of diarrhea during the week. He doesn't believe in practicing. Apparently there was friction with Harbaugh or Roman. I don't know. For me, you're paying this guy $250, $300 million, whatever they're going to end up paying him. Dude's got to show up for practice. Like you have to have your quarterback on the field, and this guy just doesn't practice. We still love the skills, but where are we with him? Because last year, that was not the Lamar Jackson we're used to seeing, Russ.
It's a different era, and this is what I thought was going to happen with him. It just took 3 years longer. As a running quarterback, Lamar lasted almost a decade doing the same thing, which is historical Cam Newton had 2 to 3 good years before he was really compromised. I don't think Lamar's completely compromised. He's done a good job of protecting himself the last few years, but it's not the same. Like you mentioned, it is not the same as year 2 Lamar. That's not the same. He's not going to be doing spinorama 50-yard touchdowns anymore. But I mean, the raw skill set's still there. He's still going to have that speed. We saw Michael Vick have it till he was, early to mid 30s. I think he'll be all right running wise, but he is going to have to start relying on his running backs more and his tight ends on those short passes. He can't do it all himself. This goes for all these guys, right? Josh Allen too, Patrick Mahomes. These guys are not young anymore, which, you blink and these guys are 30, but none of them are young anymore.
Russ Clay, fantasyguru.com. Looking at Lamar, I mean, in 2024, he had one of the greatest seasons ever, right? 41 touchdown passes, 4 picks. He's thrown 25 touchdowns. Well, he's actually thrown 22 touchdowns once in 5 years. And he's never been a 12 touchdown guy on the ground like Allen or Hurts. If he's not running for 1,000 yards, you know what I mean? It's like, and I can't put past him returning to superstar form, like you said. I mean, he's phenomenal. But I don't know. I don't know if it's his attitude. I don't know if it's the missing practice. There's just something that makes me feel uneasy. Where do you have him ranked right now? Like, is he top 5 without question? Is he top 3? Is he let someone else worry about it? What do you think?
Since he began, I've had a tough time drafting Lamar because he's so expensive. Like you're talking about, there's going to be a premium no matter what. Mm-hmm. The problem for Lamar is he created the next generation, and now the younger generation all runs. Right. I mean, you look at Drake, you look at Jackson Dart. I mean, they tried to wrangle him like he was a wild bull last year. So we know he's going to be running, right? And so I like Lamar, but like you said, for fantasy, we have all these young bulls out here. I mean, I say my positive affirmations for Jaden Daniels every day. I don't know if it's going to work. He's got his own issues with the injuries, but I mean, all the guys under 28 basically run a ton because of how Lamar opened up all these systems. So yeah, it makes fantasy really weird now. I was obviously talking about for winning games and stuff, but it's going to be different now. Fantasy wise, it's not just him and Josh anymore. So I'd say top 5-ish, but if you want to take a dart or take a shot on, some of the young guys, I have no problem with that.
You mentioned Derrick Henry. Let's dive into him a little bit. He's played 10 years in this league. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He scored 10 touchdowns in 8 straight years, including 1 year where he played 8 games. The last 2 seasons, he scored 16 and 16 touchdowns. Like, these are, again, Hall of Fame numbers. And he still was damn good last year. But there are definitely signs, right? His attempt for broken tackle last year was the worst of his career. Once he gets his head of steam going, okay. But, there's a lot of times where he's tackled at the line of scrimmage, and he just isn't the guy he was 5 years ago. He's taken 7 trillion hits. You think he holds on? You do think he holds on. You mentioned that earlier. What is holding on? He's gone almost 1,600 yards with 16 touchdowns each of the last 2 years. Are you looking at 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns? Are you looking at another massive effort for him? Kind of where will you guesstimate currently his performance end up in 2026?
So I was a Frank Gore drafter last decade,
right?
And so that'll probably tell you where I'm at with this. I'm riding this till it's all gone, till everything, the wheels fell off, the rims are starting to fall off. I'm going to ride this thing to the very, very end. A lot of people are getting off. And you know what, Ray? I got off 3-4 years ago, but we're back. I'm in. I don't know what happened. I don't know how. But we're here, and he does have again, we talk about Lamar. Henry has benefited greatly from being with Lamar just as the threat. So he looked good at the end of the last year. I would agree it's not the same, but wow. 3,400, 3,500 rushing yards the last 2 years. Frank Gore was not himself probably his last 4 or 5 seasons, but he was always 11, 1,200 yards. If we fall into that range, that would probably make sense. But then you get those 10, 11 touchdowns, you're looking at an RB2, and you're pretty happy with that. So, yeah, I'm still going to be drafting him if it's cheaper, which there's no way it's not. He's 32-year-old running back. But, yeah.
Russ Clay at fantasyguru.com. Let's talk about the receivers. We got to start with the only guy that does anything in fantasy the last couple of years for this team. The only guy who the last couple of years has actually been consistent as a pass catcher on this team. Zay Flowers, who, through 3 years, very similar performances year after year. He's very consistent week to week, and it's very much, it's at the end, hey, caught 86 passes for 1,200 yards. Oh, it's a really good year. But it's like 13 points every single week, which is great. You know what you're getting, but it's 13, 13, 11, 14, 12, 13. It's never 28, right? It's very rarely 3. He is really stable. Is that what we're going to see again in 2026?
This would be one of those where a decade ago I'd put out a tweet like, Zay Flowers, 1,200 yards last year. I was there for last season. This was not a fun fantasy year. The 1,200 yards is great. And I think if you set and forget him all last year, you're pretty happy with what you got. But it was a hard 1,200 for us, especially in 17 games, especially, you drafted him as your wide receiver 2-ish, 1-ish. It's going to be more of the same. I don't think the ceiling is too high there. He's going to be 26. So I don't know. I like him, but yeah, it's a tough, any of these Baltimore receivers. We'll see what Minter does with this. Maybe they do feature guys more, but you have to imagine, the base of this whole Lamar offense has been, there's going to be guys running wide open because of all the threats. And that has been, we see the Rashad Bateman games every year where he has his 2 good games a year. That just is going to continue to happen in a Lamar offense. So yeah, I'm fine with Zay, but I've never seeked him out and I'm okay with it.
You mentioned earlier, I think you said, maybe I misheard, but I think you said you like this receiving group. I think you said that. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Why? Because none of these guys have done anything. Not I'm saying it's their fault, but none of these guys besides Zay Flowers have done anything in years.
In the same way that I like Mark Andrews, and he's been pissing us off for 5 years, right? He's had that 1,300 yard season, and he hasn't really been great fantasy wise since. So I like the talent there. I should say. Okay. I don't like them for fantasy.
Okay, because again, this team should get a receiver. I don't know who that's going to be. They've tried the DeAndre Hopkins thing. They've done the piece it together kind of thing. Zay Flowers, for all of his goodness, as we're talking about here, Zay Flowers, what is he? 5'10", 180 pounds. Like he's, they need at least a prototypical one in terms of size. They don't really have that. Of the group of players currently here, who would be your choice, Russ, to emerge if no move was made? Would it be Bateman? Would it be Wallace? Would it be Devontae Walker, who we kind of been waiting a few years for? Is there somebody that you really like and you think could emerge if there's not a lot of movement either in the draft or on free agent market for the Ravens at the wide receiver spot?
They've just invested so much. Flowers was a first rounder. Bateman was a first rounder. If I'm them, I'm rolling with what they have. I know Bateman's been a mess basically since he got drafted. Walker's interesting. Wallace is interesting. Like you kind of brought up here. These are not featured weapons. They have Zay, and I do think the Bateman, Walker, Wallace trio can figure it out behind them. So that's kind of what I'm banking on. But yeah, if they brought a third receiver in or something like that, wouldn't shock me at all.
I skipped over this. I got so excited about wide receivers. I skipped over the backup running back question, which is something we should hit on because we've mentioned all the hits, the decade-long Derrick Henry. Keaton Mitchell, I think, is a restricted free agent, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a lot of people out there that, oh my gosh, Keaton Mitchell, like Is there a backup? Is there a handcuff? Because again, this is something that we run into as well in the game. Well, we want to handcuff Derrick Henry. Okay. Is there a handcuff? Is it going to be 2 or 3 guys anyway? Like, no one that they have on this roster is built or able to handle a game like Derrick Henry anyway, right? Keaton Mitchell's the one everyone gets excited about, but Keaton Mitchell's kind of like Zay Flowers. He's a small guy who's really fast. So talk us through the backup running backs behind Derrick Henry.
Yeah, this is like having Cooper Rush as the backup for Lamar Jackson. It doesn't really make any sense at all. It completely changes everything. And we saw it a few times this year. It's a totally different setup when those little guys are in there. Shout out to Justice Hill and Mitchell, you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Super explosive, and I think they're nice compliments. But if Henry goes down, you'd want them to have someone who you think can handle 15 to 20 touches a game, which they just don't have. So no real handcuff right now. Okay. I don't know if it's a real strong running back class in the draft this year, so we might not get anything there, but maybe we can get a free agent in there. Just someone,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And it could be someone that's not exciting and all of a sudden, no, this guy's getting 12 touches a week if Henry goes down. Russ Clay at fantasyguru.com. All right, you mentioned one of the big questions for this team, beyond what we've already discussed, is what's going on at tight end. Mark Andrews is coming back. Isaiah Likely is a free agent, and no one expects him to come back. Someone is probably going to pay Isaiah Likely. And okay, so let's start out with Mark Andrews first. You mentioned Mark Andrews and the inconsistency. It's very easy to forget that Mark Andrews basically in 2024 scored a touchdown like every game in the second half. Like it was literally like every game. He scored 11 touchdowns that year. But for the last 3 years now, the numbers have not been peak Mark Andrews. He's getting older. His hands have never been great anyway. He had that game this year. Yeah. But he and Lamar Jackson have always had a connection. Things are different now. Head coach is gone. New offensive coordinator. Andrews will be 30 years old, I believe, this year. But he's, at this point in time, likely to be the tight end one. Are we seeing a resurgence? Is it another 55, 657 kind of season? Like, what are you looking at right now with Mark Andrews?
We're hoping to get back to that 700-800 yard range. He hasn't been over 70 targets in 3 years. Yeah. Of course, he would have gone over that in 2023, but he only played 10 games. But he's 30 now. Tight end is totally random with when they fall off. Could be late 20s, could be late 30s, depending on who they are. So I like Andrews. It does look like he's winding down. And as you mentioned, I love Mark Andrews and was a huge fan coming in. He had some good years for us. Mm-hmm. Even at his peak, he would have plays where you go, oh my God, Mark, you got to catch that, brother. Come on.
Yes.
So even the staunchest Andrews defenders would admit the hands have always been inconsistent, and where that's way more important now. Yeah, like just lots of wide open, not guarded catches off. So as his athleticism has gone down, there's just way more emphasis on those bad plays. Those are going to continue. I still like him, but yeah, at this point, the ceiling is we hope for those big touchdown years. We were really getting 700, 800 yards.
Isaiah Likely, who, not according to fantasyguru.com, but according to 90% of the fantasy universe, let's go back a couple years. Week 1, 2024. Isaiah Likely, 9 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. There were people in the fantasy space that said, spend 100% of your fab budget to add Isaiah Likely. Truth, true story. Next 2 weeks, 3 catches, 30 yards. He didn't score another touchdown until week 13. He, ended up being, unfortunately, the Isaiah Likely that he was for almost his entire tenure. A guy that would pop off here and there when Andrews was down, would have a nice play or two, but a guy that just never really became a significant part of the offense. Well, now he's a free agent. And again, there's a possibility he returns to Baltimore. I think it's probably unlikely. How excited are you about Isaiah Likely's skill set? And if he falls into the right place, is he one of these guys that all of a sudden is catching 75, 80 passes? Or is he more of the Chigakonkwo, like he'll still have splash plays, but he's not really going to be a featured part of an offense.
Chigakonkwo is that's perfect right there.
That's why I said it.
I've never been a huge likely guy.
Okay.
Could he emerge to 600-700 yards in the right spot? Sure. I don't, I guess we can clip this if I'm wrong in January. Right. I don't think he's a featured weapon at all. I think he's a nice complementary piece. Fantastic second tight end, right? Like way overqualified for that. But as a one, when we start stacking up against the top 10, 12, 13 guys, it gets pretty talented up at the top there. When you're starting to go to even the mid-tier tight ends like Njoku, you're starting to say, is Isaiah Likely really better than Njoku?
Mm-hmm.
Or, Fannin or guys like that? I don't think he's in that tier. So wherever he goes, could he find the right system, which we know is more important than ever? For sure. He can have a decent fantasy year, but I do not see the high-end ceiling that has been talked about.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Is there anything obvious with this team that we missed, that we didn't hit on? Something that the storyline you wanted to discuss prior to the show? Do you want to talk salary cap? Do you not care about that? Is there a player, something that I missed? Don't always get everything, Russ.
That is the full review. This is a team that they're Super Bowl ready. They've been ready. They're trying to hold together this roster. I guess the one question, Ray, is the window past even with a new coach, right? So that is what I'm looking at. Does next year look revived with a new coach, or do we get to week 8 and say, oh, this is the same team? Where are you at with them? Are we past it, or do we have another year?
I'd like to think we have another year. I'm willing to give them the opportunity to prove that they have another year, right? But I said it earlier, I really struggle with Lamar Jackson. And again, this could be completely unfair. I don't know if he wants to play football. I know he doesn't want to practice. You got to practice, man. Like you can't have, quarterback needs to be a leader. He doesn't have to be your team leader. It helps when they are, right? But he's got to be a leader. And maybe he's a rah-rah guy in the locker room. We don't see it or anything, but I know, because I remember back when I played, if you didn't show up to practice, you're losing my respect. I'm out there busting my ass. Where are you? So I think that's huge. They got to figure out the contract with him, because again, he's due $75 million against the cap this year. They got to redo that. What does that look like? Because remember, there was he was very contentious with his contract too. When that came time he wouldn't hire an agent, and this went on for the year where they were trying to figure, if you're the Ravens, can you give this guy another 5-year, $250 million after what you saw last year? And again, he doesn't practice, and so it's huge. They win 7 to 12 games, right? I mean, that they're in that. I think a lot of it comes down to Lamar.
Yeah, I think they're good enough to win a Super Bowl, but does it come together in this 7 years? Doesn't look like it right now.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com joins us Fridays at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We should go about a half hour with Russ. Russ, you mentioned it was tough doing the Dynasty update this week over at FG. You're still doing that, eh?
We are. We're still doing it. We're still grinding. And yeah, it should really heat up the next couple weeks. And then, of course, we're doing these previews on this show. So it's a fun, re-energizing time of the year.
And next week, Justin Fenton will be hosting the show here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I'll be hosting the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 2 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. Jeff Mann's going on a vacation. So the show here will be every day next week, 12 o'clock as always, Eastern Time. But I'll be gone the first 3 days over on SiriusXM hosting over there. You're joining us next week, Russ. And forgive me, I've forgotten what day it is because I'm doing so many things. Which of the 3 days are you scheduled to appear on SiriusXM?
We'll be jumping on Wednesday, so appreciate the call up, and we'll try to throw some heat.
Yeah, well, you've been up before, you were starting pitcher before during the regular season. So
John Smoltz, baby.
Yeah, going to the bullpen now. All right, nice, making that transition as you age. Yeah, so Russ will be back with us next Friday too, but he'll be on the show on Wednesday on SiriusXM, so stay tuned for that. I won't be here. Justin will be again. The show will remain 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday next week. I'll be over on SiriusXM Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll return here Thursday, Friday. Russ will be with me Wednesday on SiriusXM. Will be with me Friday on this show. I got drafts next week. I got articles next week. We got an announcement to make for the website next week. We got a lot of things going on here in the next 7 days, Russ, including talking to you twice. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. And we'll look forward to having some fun next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray.
You got it. Don't forget that the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Mans, his final show before his vacation, is at 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, about an hour from now. So tune over to SiriusXM every day, an hour after this show, to hear the Elite Sports Show. For Russ, I'm Ray. Head over to fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up. Never been a better time to do it. Let us help you have success in 2026. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.